Let's wait a couple of minutes.
Hi, good morning, everyone. We'll be starting off with the session in a few minutes. We're just waiting for everyone to join.
Manik, we can get started with the session.
Okay. So let's get started. So first of all, welcome you all for today's session. It's about the solving the commonly asked questions, particularly in JavaScript, and how to crack those interviews. And thanks a lot for showing your interest in this session. I hope you'll be. I make sure you'll get values out of this session, and which would help you to grow as a software engineer. Let me start my presentation. Okay. So this is about me. I'm having 6.5 years of experience currently working in Zoom, particularly as an IC role. It's called the independent counterpart the role, and it's for I majorly work for the payment team where we help the customers, to provide an unified, seamless payment experience, particularly for the small and the medium-sized business. And previously I have worked with Walmart, Micro Focus, and different where I work for different domain, like for enterprise software solutions, for retail, and to brief about my my started journey. So I started from non-CS background, and my college was also tier 3. And within the growth of almost 6.5 years, I just, compensation wise, if I'm just thinking about, it's almost I have growth like 2x, 20x times. And during that tenure, I also helped the junior developers to grow. And also I have conducted multiple sessions with different organizations where I participated as a mentor. So that's about me. You can find more details on my LinkedIn also. We can connect. So before starting the session, I would like to know about from you, like who are the audience, like what are the different. I have just created couple of polls, so that's gonna help us out to identify the percentage of different audiences, the categories basically. So on your screen of the Google Meet, if you can see on the bottom right corner, there is an icon having triangular, square, and circle. So there you can, if you click on that particular icon, you can say you can see the polls. So I'm just launching one poll. This is regarding the current experience. Could you please just thumbs up if you are able to find it out? Okay, cool. I can see the votes here. Okay, awesome. And let's wait a couple of minutes. Okay, so it's mostly, it seems, are freshers, then student and professionals. Okay, cool. Uh, okay, so let me, Vidur, can we end the poll, or we can simultaneously trigger all the polls?
Yeah, we can trigger the next poll as well. No
Next
issues.
poll, right? Yeah. So the next would be the what's your target? So as of now, which companies or the industries you are targeting? Hey, Pranav, hello. Another, I'm triggering, it's for the preparation status. So currently where you are, or what's your plan? And the last one is the front end enthusiast. So I just quickly wanted to know how many of you would like to grow your career in front end, or could be in MERN stack as well. Whoever is new, just joining or just joined as of now, uh, please participate in the poll. It's in the right bottom corner, having mixed that triangular icon. Please share your thought. Okay. So mostly are the front-end enthusiasts. Okay. Immediately looking for. So target. Okay, let's continue. Vidul, can we continue this poll? Maybe we can end at the end or something.
No need to end the polls. You can like
Uh,
continue to trigger
right.
the next poll.
Okay, sure. Okay. So before starting, I mean, you guys have any questions? I can see there is bunch of things. Yeah. Or maybe we can start the session. Okay. You can raise your hand if you are having any doubt. Just stop me there. Any point? Like, think there is no doubt as of now. Let me start. So yeah, so what's the agenda for today's session? So first we're gonna cover the fundamental topics in JavaScript. So it's gonna help out the folks who wanted to pursue their career or about to think to start their journey in front end, and what are those important topics they often got in the interviews. And not only for interviews, also as a software engineer, those fundamental things has to be strong enough. Next, among those topics, I'll be particularly targeting about the function currying and the closures in JavaScript. Those two topics are these are the very important one and very fundamental one, uh, and also it helps you to know JavaScript in more detail, more depth concepts. Next, based on these concepts, we are gonna solve one interview problem. Um, So we are going to solve one interview problem that again commonly asked in companies like Amazon, Walmart, and different other product-based companies. And we'll see how we can break down the problem and the strategy to solve any particular problem, right? And the next one would be the how we can process. I mean, what are the sequence of steps we should follow while applying for interviews, right? Particularly for the front end, or let's say if you're a fresher, that equally work. It equally work if you're also preparing for back end engineering also. So it's pretty generic one. The last one is how can I help by providing my one-to-one mentorship. Um, and these are the mentorship, I mean to say these are the long-term mentorship, not like some 1 or 2 sessions, or not for any short time off. It might extend it for a couple of months as well, since it would be a continuous follow-up process, continuous interactions process between me and the mentee. And in that way I would be able to coach them, I would be able to mentoring them from end to end their journey. Let me check if there is any question. The chat. Okay. Um, yeah. So, Pranav, as of now, I mean, companies rarely use any vanilla JavaScript for their development. The reasons is there are frameworks out there. For example, you might have heard about the Angular, Vue, or React. Why? So, they companies usually adapt among one of these framework. The reason is those frameworks remove. I mean, there are certain advantage, using those frameworks, which are very difficult using the normal JavaScript. So that's the reason the companies they use these frameworks that helps them to organize their code, to maintain more component wise writing those codes, right? So yeah, of course you need to learn any one of this framework. I think React is quite popular, but you can also learn Vue.js also. That's also beginner friendly, I would say. Um, Okay. So if you are asking Akash, like for any any framework wise, of course I'm gonna suggest, like recommend of the React one. And yeah, of course, like these are have the decent career opportunities for sure. I hope I was able to answer your questions, Akash. Or if you have something else, then maybe we can talk it later.
Yeah, just a second, man. So, guys, we'll also have a Q&A session in the end. So, if you guys have any doubts or something like that, you can just keep it for the end so that the session goes on smoothly and you guys can maybe turn on your mic and everything to, ask the questions in the end. Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, thank you. Um, cool. So let's proceed to the next one. So these are the fundamental topics I have jotted down for JavaScript. Now, the first one is how JavaScript engine executes, right? So, I mean, these topics basically, I mean, you can prepare yourself, and also if you are taking any kind of long-term membership or any kind of long-term mentorships from me, then also I can teach you these topics and also guide you and how you can I mean what are the important concepts also within that you can focus on, and different problems around that. So these are the topics I have figured out. I mean, these are the super important thing to to set up your foundation in JavaScript. Now people use JavaScript also as a normal scripting language, but these concepts are very important while writing. Let's say the not from the DOM point of view, it's about the as a programming language point of view. Like JavaScript as a programming language, what are the things does it offer? Like how it's different compared to the other programming languages available, and these concepts help you to parameterize those things. So the first one would be the JavaScript executes. If you see, so I mean, how it's differ compared to the other programming languages. I mean, as you know, like the programming languages can be categorized into different. So in JavaScript, it's an dynamic programming language and weakly typed. Unlike the Java, it's strongly typed, and the it's pretty much the not strongly typed and static typing programming languages, whereas JavaScript is weakly typing and dynamic. Now, what are the different data types available, right? Then the concepts like hoisting, scoping, functions, currying, closures. This is again a very important concept. How this the value of this can vary from different ways. For example, what's the value of this inside of any arrow function, or let's what's the value of this keyword inside of any normal function keyword, right? Then the concepts like prototypal inheritance, callback, and event loop. These are very important concepts in JavaScript. Um, and also for preparing for any interviews, those play a really important role in there. Now here, as I said, I'll be just particularly talk about the closures and function currying, right? Now, I mean, my assumptions is you guys have basic understanding of the JavaScript, at least the syntax. So in that way, it will be help me, to explain the things. So let's understand what's mean by the function closures, right? Now, as you can see here, I have drawn a symbol. Sorry, I have drawn one icons, or you can say some kind of emojis also, where I just put infinite icon over there. So it means the innermost parenthesis will always have access to its outermost parenthesis, or the members or the variables we declare. So that's the reason I just drawn in such a way to explain the closures in very brief way. Now let's understand these functions, what I have written. So basically, I have written one functions called stupid func here, and this function inside of these functions, I have created one variable called namespace. It has some value, and again inside of this stupid func, I have created one more function called inner function, and I'm just executing or just calling these functions inside of the stupid function itself. Now, the closures in JavaScript says the technique by which an innermost function have access to its outer scope, or the function which wraps around it. That's called the closure. So here, my inner function will have access to this namespace. So here you can see in the inner function, the first line, I'm just consoling out the namespace variable. This is called the template literal syntax inside of the console.log I have written. So you can see the inner function has somehow access to its outer scope, right? And it's able to print out that variable's value also. This is called the closure, right? And now how we can demonstrate, right? I mean, how we can understood, like, hey, whether it's a really closure or not, right? How browser executes, right? So let me just take you to the actual code, and I'll be just trying to execute this piece of code and understand, explain to you like how things are happening behind the scene, right? Let me just quickly share my entire screen. Okay, hope my screen is visible. Oh, okay. Um, can you guys able to see my screen where I have opened the code actually in that browser? Can you please thumbs up or something? Okay. By the way, as of any, okay, please go ahead. Any, I think somebody has raised hand. Um, okay. So let's understand. Let's say I'm just putting one debug point over here, and inside of this inner function, I'm just putting another debug point. I'm just trying to execute this one. So you see, my function got executed, and from this particular line, and now I'm inside of this stupid func. Okay, and here you can see bunch of things. In these are important informations we can get. You can see this value of, I mean, inside of this local, you can see this inner function has already registered inside of this scope of this stupid func, and you can see this value of the namespace is by default is undefined, right? So now I'm just click on the next. So the namespace value is now outer scope. Initially the value was undefined. Now let's move inside of this inner function. Okay, so now here is the important piece. Here you can see it's some closure, right? So inside of the inner function, it has formed a closure. Okay, and if I'm expanding further, you can see this is the variable, or this is the member it can able to access from inside of the inner function, right? So this is what is the closure mean, and in this way it's able to get the information about the namespace, and it's able to execute this piece of code. So as expected, it's just sequentially executing this piece of code. I hope the concept of closure is now clear. Or any doubt you have in this regards, like closures, or can you thumbs up, like if you if I'm able to clear your concepts? Okay, okay, awesome. Now I'm going to ask you one interesting questions here. Like, can you guys guess like why it's printing undefined after execution? Any thought? You can type it in the chat window. So I just execute this function. Nowhere I'm returning any undefined as such. It's just showing me undefined on the browser console. Can you guys guess like why it's printing? Any guess? Um, Okay, not a try. Okay. Uh, yeah, I can help you. So the thing is, here we are not explicitly returning any. We're not returning any statement over here, right? So let's say if I'm just doing returning 0, right? And if I'm just trying to execute this one, you can see it's printing 0. So by default, it's return undefined. So that's why you can see the even though you are not explicitly adding this return, by default JavaScript engine, what it does, it's just add this statement like this way. And that's the reason it's just returning undefined. Hope it's clear. Okay. Now let me switch back to the next topic. It's called the function currying. Again, this is also a quite popular concept in JavaScript, and the function currying foundation is built on top of the function closures. So what does it mean by function currying? I mean, we can write one function which can accept, the multiple arguments, right? But the problem with those kind of function is the reusability problem. So if we can write function in such a way that instead of accepting multiple arguments, it can accept one argument at a time, and it can return a sequence of function where each function can accept one single argument or very lesser argument, I would say. In that way, it would be very much reusable. That's what is called by function currying. It's just like instead of providing all the arguments in one functions, we'll be just cascading a sequence of functions all together, right? So it's just, I mean, how you can correlate this concept with Indian cooking is like while cooking any particular curry, or it could be any particular item, right? We usually add the ingredients by one, and based on after certain time, based on certain temperature, we just add one by one ingredients into our curry, right? And in that way, it does change the taste. We don't just haphazardly put all the ingredients all together and make our any particular item, right? So in that way, you can think this curry is. So let's consider this particular sum. Now, I should change the name. It should be, let's say, any kind of payment function, for example, or let's say the get payment method. If some is bit incorrect, it should be the get payment kind of function. So anyway, so let's say here I have written one function. You can see, you might have observed or also experienced in different app, right, where it accepts different payment options, right? So now in my use case, I have certain default payments method. Okay. And if my country is India, then I'll be just adding new payment method, right? Now, obviously, you cannot write all the payment method inside of this default payments array, because that's subject to the country type. As of now, for sake of simplicity, let's say the country I have hard coded to India. Now, this function sum is returning one anonymous function. Since I didn't have any name over here, it's just without any name. It's called the anonymous function. And here I'm just returning function which will accept a new payment. And if my country is India, let's say, then I am pushing that new payment inside of my default payments, right? So that's my use case. And at the end, always this inner function gonna return me the default payment. Now, all the logic would be residing here. Since I just hard coded these conditions here, the country is India. It can be like you can fetch some backend call to get the country details, and based on that, you can do multiple operations over here. So now what I'm doing here now, I'm just taking one variable called result. I'm just executing this sum. So when I'm just executing this sum, obviously it's just returning this internal function or this innermost function, this anonymous function. Now, once I have this anonymous function, I'm just executing again I'm executing again that particular function sum. Okay, and I'm just consoling out that particular this method, the new payment method as UPI. All right, and so what it's happening, so whatever I have gotten from the result 2, just ignore the result 1, check the result 2. So from result 2 I just execute this sum. I got the innermost function. Okay, and in the innermost function accept one argument. This is called new payment, and I'm passing the new payment as UPI. Right, so you can see so the expectation should be the UPI now should be part of my default payment. Right, now let's see how browser execute this piece of code. Right, so let's see here. If I'm again just putting debugger, or that will help me to visualize the things. I'm just executing the code. So as of now, you can see this result. This is the function. This particular thing got saved inside of this result, which is showing inside of my script. Okay, the result to value is still undefined since I haven't assigned any kind of value yet. I'm just click on the next. Now result 2 is also holding this particular function thing. Right, now it's nothing but a new function, and now I'm executing this result 2 here. Okay, now since I just execute this innermost function, now with the UPI keyword, now here is this strange part. You see, this I'm just executing this piece of function, but magically I have access of its default payment array, which is part of its outer scope. Right, so again the closures concept come into the picture. Even if this function sum we have destroyed, right, JavaScript engine, it remembered this particular memory location. Okay, so what it happened basically, once it destroyed this sum, there is a algorithm called mark and sweep algorithm happen behind the scene, and during that process it just stores this particular information as a part of the closures, and it didn't destroys this element till yet. Since it has a memory reference inside of this innermost function, it's not going to destroy. And here you see, still as a part of this closure, we're able to hold, we are able to access these values. Right, now since I have hard coded my condition India, this condition is true, and this piece of statement gonna execute. Now let me click on next. Now you see the default payments, the default payments which resides outside its scope, now it has the UPI payment method as well. Right, so we are successfully able to modify or mutate this array which resides its outer scope based on our requirement. So you see, we didn't write any functions which would accept multiple arguments. Instead, we just write our function in such a way that it can be reused, right? And based on our requirement, we can make use of the same function. So Kareem brings a very important concept in JavaScript called the reusability of any existing function. This has very wide application, especially in any kind of mathematical operations as well. For example, where let's say one particular argument would be always fixed, and depending on different requirement, you might have different operations. It could be on addition, subtractions, division, such kind of operations. So currying in that way is very helpful and a powerful technique in JavaScript. So you see, instead of passing all the arguments like UPI or anything like that, we are just sequentially executing one by one function, and we are able to get our result. I hope the concept is clear um, regarding the function currying. I mean, any questions so far? Any question?
Guys, you can post your questions in the chat if you can.
Um, okay, I think there is questions. Of which one, Sujit, you want me to explain? Okay, okay. So currying basically means instead of using all the arguments or passing all the arguments in one single function, if we are able to write the function in such a way that it should return a sequence of function accepting single arguments or very lesser arguments, that's called the function currying. If you are just asking the definitions or the quick way or brief way, and a typical function currying look like this, I would say. And here, based on the different requirements, it might get changed. That I'm going to explain you in that next problem. Vikas, Sujit, does it make sense, or any particular things got stuck? Can you raise your hand or use the emojis? Okay, awesome. Good. So now we'll be, yes, it's bit on the same as the recursion, correct? Similarity is there bit on the recursion, uh, but not exactly as recursion. Like you can compare these things as a recursion where it's create the recursion stack and having the reference for each those callbacks or those each and every function calls. Here similarly it has the reference of those closures, right, instead of the stack, and all the memory and all the variables inside of these closures it would have access. Yeah. I mean, keys, if you want to see, then you really don't. Uh, I mean, you might use function currying, but here, honestly, inside of the object, maybe you can use some conditions also. You really don't need any kind of function currying in that. It mostly uses inside of the functions where you need to process or some kind of operations are there. Inside of the object, you can just simply use any kind of conditions over there. Okay, so objects are, I would say, it's a data structure where we can put the information inside of an key value pair, and those are would be the non-homogeneous in type. What do I mean? Like let's say, let object, right? So object, it's a data structure. You can define the objects using this curly braces. you can create one, key called, let's say, name is my key, and let's say I'm just adding my name. Okay. And let's say I can write function also, like get age, right? And I can just add function also, for example. And as of now, return something like, let's say I'm just using something 20 or something like that. Okay. So it's a data structure which accepts the members as a key value pair, and where each and every value can be any non-homogeneous element. Okay, I mean to say, it could be string, it could be function, it could be number, anything. Okay. And the yeah, so that's the simple definitions of object. It just as an array, same as array or some other data structures. Does it clear, Vikas? Can you thumbs up, or can you respond if you're in the call? Correct, correct. So in JavaScript, it's not. I mean, it's not. There is no hard and strict rule. So these are the, since these are the non-primitive data structures, object array. This can accept the non-homogeneous elements. So in primitive data type, you can't use, for example, the numbers or anything like that. Okay. So if we don't have any other questions, then maybe we can proceed to our next. Okay. So this problem is quite commonly asked in the interviews, and multiple times it has been asked. So here you see I have one function called current sum. The expectation is to, you can call this function in any random, in any sequence way. Like for example, you see the first one, I'm just sequentially passing all the arguments, all the numbers. The moment I'm just entering any empty parenthesis, it should return me the summation of all the previously provided argument into that particular function. The next combination, or next combination would be, I'll be first passing 1 and 2, and then I'll be passing 3, 4, 5, and such that we have bunch of different combinations out there, you can see. And whenever I'll be just entering this empty parenthesis, it should return me all the summation of the elements I have provided so far. Right? So how can you give a guess? Can you just give a thought? Maybe you can turn on your microphone and raise your hand to answer this problem. Like, just a guess. You don't have to be any any technique, anything. Just give it a try. Um, is my problem? I mean, did I able to explain the problem? Can you guys thumbs up? Like, if you understood the problem, or do you want me to repeat the problem? Okay, that's a good use case. So if no argument has been passed, it should return undefined or zero, something we can tackle. That's a very good edge case, Prashant. It can return zero since we are doing summation. So yeah. Okay, can you guys, I mean, if you guys understood the problem, just somebody just can guess like any technique if we can use, like so far we have discussed in this session. Like any thought if you have. I'll take a pause for 1 minute. If you can give me any any thought in there. Let me just reshare my screen. Yeah. Can somebody just give a try? You don't have to write the code. Just you can share any technique or something like that. Anything. Okay. I think let me start the solution then. Okay. So there are multiple way we can handle. So here you see what I'm doing. So I know, I mean, let's say how we can break down this problem before jump into the solution. So my requirement is here, my expectation is like my curried function can be called multiple times. So multiple times it's getting called, and each and every time when we are calling, it somehow it depends on its previous execution, right? So we need to store the information whatever previously we have supplied into that function. So which can help us out? The closures. So closures can help us out to have a reference of those previously provided arguments, right? So here we can use any kind of, we can use closures along with function currying, right? And my ternary condition, or I would say the return statement, would be depending on the empty parenthesis. The moment my algorithm or my function sees the empty parenthesis has been provided, or there is no argument at all, straight away it's going to return me the summation, right? So two key things. One is we need to have the hold of all the arguments we have provided so far, and when there is empty parenthesis, then I'll be returning the all the previously numbers I have provided. Now let's understand. Let's say this is my function correct sum. Here I am inside of this thing. I am using this rest operator, or you can see this spread operator, which is part of ES6. Here I'm just expecting those arguments. It could be on single arguments, it could be on multiple arguments. All those elements I am putting inside of its storage. Okay. Now here this would be my ternary conditions of my recursion. Okay. Like if there is no length has been provided, I'm just consoling out this summation part. So reduce is nothing but a JavaScript inbuilt method which helps us to sum, or I would say accumulation part. So here I'm using some default library function of the JavaScript, which going to return me the sum of all the elements inside of the storage. Else, if it sees any elements, then again I'm just storing. If I'm just creating one anonymous function, storing inside of the helper, right? And here what I'm doing, I'm just inside of this helper function. Again, whatever the arguments is provided, right, that I'm pushing inside of this storage. And here, if again there is no length or there is no argument has been provided, I'm simply just consoling out the summation part. Else I'm returning, right? So there are two if else condition. First of all, if the provided arguments if the provided arguments has any length or not. I'm checking that one. If it has length, I'm just returning one function that again further accepts some kind of arguments. And if it has argument, I'm pushing inside of this global, or this storage array. So in that way, I'll be able to keep track of all the provided arguments so far. And again, if my arg2 is empty, then also I'll be just returning out or consoling out that summation of inside of all the elements inside of the storage, right? And else I'm just returning the helper function. So inside of this else part, again, two things can be happen. Either we might execute the function, or we can just simply, we cannot provide any arguments. So in that way, would be able to again return that helper function, right? So in this else part, it's going to return the helper function again. And in this way, the recursion is going to work. So whenever it just sees, let's consider this particular example where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we are just one by one, we are just sequentially providing. So each and every time it's gonna return this helper function, and the moment it sees this empty thing, then only it's just returning the summations of all the arguments. That's the one of the way we can solve this problem. That's a or there are other ways also we can use. Any questions in this regard? Like this function or this kind of problems can be bit, they can bit twist also. Like instead of using empty parentheses, they can say if user is providing -1, then you should return all the summation. Or here, let's say this function can accept infinite number of arguments. They can also restrict, like the function can, like if the function is like there are 3 or 4 number of arguments is provided, then you can return the summation of all those elements. That also can be done. So there are variation around this problem also. How do you feel this problem? Like, is the solution clear to you? Any thought you have? Anything, you please raise your hand or ask me questions from that. Like, does the solution make sense, or do you have any better way to think? Can you thumbs up, like, or like anything, like uh, if you understood this one? Do you want me to clarify anything or as such? Or maybe we can then move to the next slide. Yep, definitely. Share the code. So I have already written this code over here. So for example, if I'm trying to execute this one, so it's gonna print the 15s as expected. Okay, so let me execute this piece of code. So here you see what's my argument I have provided. The value is 1. Okay. Inside of my storage, you see here the 1 has been pushed. Okay. Now this condition obviously got failed because I have provided some argument. Now it's just here. Now what I'm doing, I'm just returning the helper function, right? So now I just return the helper function at this moment. Now you see the cursor at 2, right? Again, so as of now, there is a memory reference of this helper function somewhere in the memory. Now here you see I have pushed 2 over here. So argument 2 is now 2, right? Okay. And since this conditions not gonna true, since I have pushed 2 inside of my argument 2, this will return again helper function. So the recursion kicks in, and at this moment the value of storage is already 1 and 2 as expected. Now I'm expecting at 3, right? So since it's return helper function again, it's gonna again push that 3 value inside of this storage, right? And again this condition fails, it returns helper function. Again recursion happened. It will keep until the empty parenthesis. So at this moment I'm at 5, let's say. Again the condition is false. My storage has all the elements I have provided so far. Now again next conditions would be the empty parenthesis. You see here no arguments I have provided. So args2.length is 0, nothing but. So this condition is getting satisfied, and I'm just consoling out the statement. So this is nothing but just summing up all the array value inside of the storage. Now done. Now it's just execute my again it's just getting empty all the callbacks. Done. Does it clear now? Sujit, is it clear to you or anybody? Okay, awesome. Now next to the next. So how you can apply for interviews? So as I said, first have a solid ground on the fundamentals, those topic I have listed down, and also I can help you out teaching as well as also giving you some tasks, some mock interviews. Then practice problems and build personal projects. These are very important if you are not a working profession, especially if you're a freshers or looking for job opportunity for the entry level. These really a game changing for thing, the personal projects. Then you can apply for the interview. It could be mock interview or the actual interview. And if you are, let's say, not getting qualified, repeat the process and understood like what are the points you are lacking of, and start preparing from those points only. Now how can I help you? By providing one-to-one mentorship. So I can, in one-to-one call, I mean, first of all, there is no need, like you don't have to purchase the long-term membership straight away. You can have trial sessions. Those are in that trial session we can get to know about each other. I can know about your needs, your problems, your preparation strategy. We can discuss over there, and if it looks good, then we can proceed further, right? So there is no harm of having a trial session with me. You can have trial session with me using the pre-placed platform. And of course there I can understand like your skill gap or what your particular need from that long-term mentorship or what you are looking for. In that way I can understood your personal goal, So what I can help you, I can help you the teaching, obviously certain topics, give you an guidance, and the mock interviews, the project hands-on. So I can give you the task. Let's say today's sessions, I'm telling you, hey, you just work on this particular topic. Maybe we can discuss the next session, like what are the things you have learned. So it would be a continuous process, continuous evolving process, continuous interaction process, where I'd be get to know about you. I can help you for each and every step. It could be an end-to-end process. And of course, it's not going to be for few weeks. It might extend for few months as well, depending upon your strategy, your goal, and also all those things like any ad hoc calls, chat support, and timely follow-ups would be there for sure. And I can help you at the end if you are really good at, if you have really followed all those steps I have mentioned, or let's say if you have properly, if you are good enough in your preparation journey, then also I can help you to get the job referrals, non-technical things like the salary negotiation, the resume review, and also I can also guide you the tips and tricks, like how you can approach different recruiters or the employees on LinkedIn to get to chances of getting the job, right? So in that way I can really help you out. So again, I would like to stretch upon the trial session. Maybe in this session, I may not be able to answer all of your questions or your personal, doubts, that I can certainly clarify in the trial session. And if you, how you can reach me out, you can visit the pre-place. You can search my name, and you can book a trial session. A pretty straightforward process. You can just, I think already Vidur has already shared the link. You can just click on that one, and you can just directly schedule the call with me. Here is my link on Peaplist. You can get it there. Also, you can get my LinkedIn profile. You can send me connection request. We can connect. We can chat. Anything is fine for me. Um, so before ending the session, we might start the Q&A. Vidur, we can start the Q&A. If anybody has any questions, we can talk on that.
Yeah, sure. Guys, you can turn on your mic and ask. We'll wait for a few minutes to answer your questions. Also, you can visit Mainak's profile and book a trial with him, one-to-one free trial session.
You can unmute and you can ask me any question if you have regarding sessions or anything in general. We stop sharing in this moment. No questions. Okay.
Yeah, if we don't have any questions, I think you answered most of the questions while the session was going on. So, thank you everyone for attending the session. I think Akshay has a question.
Yep. So Akshay, I mean, it happens. I mean, there is, I mean, see, you need to understand there is a competitions for each and every position, right, for internship. So there is no shortcut, and honestly, it's kind of, I would say, a brute force approach. You applied for many positions, and let's say if you are applying for some 200 or 100 plus position, then there is a chance you might get a response. So there is no, surety or any assurance like you will get quickly any response, right? I hope I was able to answer your questions or your doubt, Akshay.
Guys, if you have any other question, you can directly. I think Sujit also has a question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same goes for Sujit as well. I mean, there is no guarantee or any assurance. You can apply, it's gonna take time. It happened for me also, so it takes some time. It's not that easily you'll get because of the competitions, I would say. The only way to get selected is the you increase your the apply rate. Just apply as much as possible, then the getting selections would be a bit easier. There's no other way. You can reach out to the folks also over the LinkedIn uh, from that company. Then they might recommend you. So that also again to help increase your success rate of getting the opportunity. Yeah, definitely React is the foremost thing you need to. Sorry, the JavaScript, you need to have a good foundation knowledge on that. And if you're a freshers, then you can work on the data structures and algorithm parts as well. Those are very important. um, can I add portfolio website? Yeah, if you have time, obviously you can add any portfolio website, or you can, I would recommend you push your personal projects and GitHub and share that GitHub itself. That will look like your personal portfolio having bunch of projects which you have worked on. So yeah, that's again good to have thing, but it's not optional. But uh, that's a plus point if you are able to do.
Guys, I've also shared replaced link for Mainak's profile. You can definitely visit it and book a one-on-one free trial with him. Apart from that, we'll just wait for a few more seconds if you have any other doubts, else we can definitely conclude the session.
Yeah. So I mean, these trial sessions are free. I mean, you don't have to pay anything. Just a one-on-one interact. If it really looks fine, or if the conversation looks good, then we might have any long-term membership or any kind of mentorship we can have with me. Okay. First of all, the data structures and algorithm, Hanish, is the very important thing for SD roles, especially if you're at entry level. And the second one is if you are just preparing for the front end part, the of the JavaScript is the important thing along with the React. That would be, I mean, good enough to crack the good level of companies, good big product based companies. Else, if you're just preparing for any backend, uh, prepare on Java or any Python, okay, and the related frameworks. For example, Java, you can learn about the Spring Boot, and Python, you can learn about the Django or Flask, right? Yes, yes. Sadhanand, strong JavaScript knowledge is really, really needed. And also, it's not only for, I mean, it shapes you as a better engineer compared to the other. The technologies, the frameworks and libraries will comes and go, but the core foundation JavaScript will be remain. Okay. Any other questions before we conclude?
Yeah, I think we're done with all the questions, and I think we can
Okay.
conclude the session.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks a lot for having me in this session and registering for this session. It was really a wonderful session. And if you really have any doubts, anything, just reach me out for this trial session. Could be and also on LinkedIn also if you need, right? We can talk on there. So yeah, please feel free to reach me out. Okay. Sujit, you can add that Sujit, any YouTube reference project, yeah, you can add. Yeah, definitely it might add some value. So yeah, thank you guys for joining the one. Yeah. Take care and have a good weekend. Yeah,
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining the session. Do visit his profile and try to book a trial slot with him.
yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Thank you. Bye.
thank you everyone for joining. You guys maybe.